The current destination is the Schuylkill Friends Meeting House. So whenever you hear people talk about Friends in connection with religion, they're generally talking about Quakers. And Quakers have a well-deserved reputation for being anti-slavery. Many of them were, not exclusively, because there were Quaker slave owners and Quakers who didn't want black Quakers. They didn't want black friends. No pun intended. There's a whole body of research out there on that, which is also surprising to people. But by and large, the Friends meeting houses in this area tended to be anti-slavery. So the place that we're going right now is the Friends Meeting House, the Schuylkill Friends Meeting House, and probably named that because we're right near the Schuylkill River. It is supposed to be on this road, Route 23 and White Horse Road. I'm assuming on the corner. I don't have an exact address. This is also in Charles Blockson's Hippocrene Guide to the Underground Railroad. You ought to pick that book up. They're like places with addresses and information all over the country. So if you're in Michigan, you can find places there. I mean, like literally everywhere. But I'm interested in this one, number one, because it's in Chester County, and that's my focus for this particular ride, our Underground Railroad spots in Chester. But also because the famous Henry Box Brown spoke here, among other people. If you remember the story of the black man who was enslaved in Richmond, Virginia, his owner considered him a quote-unquote model slave. He's just a perfect little guy. Never broke the rules, just good slave. Well, he was plotting and waiting for his day of escape. Had himself, with the help of a white guy down there who later got arrested trying to help other black people do the same thing, unfortunately for him, but Henry Box Brown put himself in a box, was nailed up. He had water. They said he used a bladder of water, so I'm assuming there's probably like a cow bladder or something of that nature that could hold water like a canteen today, and had himself FedExed, UPS'd, USPS, whatever you want to call it, shipping mode of that day, shipped to Philly. They're like, would you like a round trip? Box Brown said, no, I'm good. One way. This box won't be coming back. Brother got out of slavery in a box. Absolutely ingenious. So anyway, he came up here in this area, in this community, to speak. Now, I'm not sure, but the meeting house may be gone, but this is absolutely the neighborhood. Yeah, I kind of figured that the building was gone since Blockson did not put an address in his book. But it's all right, though. Just glad to know that the community is still here. Now, this is an interesting old-looking building. Looks like a cemetery on the other side of that fence. That stone fence. Could this be it? Could this be? Ah, it is. So there is a building. Wow. Thank you, friends. This is a great place to stand on the Underground Railroad, helping enslaved African Americans get free. Shout out to the Friends on this hallowed piece of ground, established in 1807, as you can see, and still active. The Schuylkill Friends Quaker Meeting for worship. This place is a known site for activity. There's also a cemetery in the back of it, beautiful stone fence around it. It's on the corner of Route 23, State Route 23 in Pennsylvania, and White Horse Road. You got to come up just a little bit to the north on White Horse Road, and you'll see it sitting on the right-hand side. You could also read more about it in Charles Blockson's Hippocrene Guide to the Underground Railroad. And of course, one of the reasons that I'm here is because this is election season. So for African Americans who believe there's nothing to vote for, you've got to remember it was not always a given. In fact, it was a hard-won fight, and the people who escaped using the route of the Underground Railroad, I mean, they wished that their biggest problem was trying to decide who to vote for. They were just simply trying to remain free and not be dragged back into slavery or suffer the consequences of what would later become known as Jim Crow laws in the North. And so if they knew that there would be a time where black folk in this country would have the nerve to say things like, ain't nothing to vote for, man, I'm gonna tell you, listen, if you don't have the kind of candidates you want on the ballot, then go out and make the candidates that you want. If you don't have the kind of initiatives you want on the ballot, then you fight to make that happen. But it's a cop-out to say, I'm not voting because there ain't nothing to vote for. In fact, beyond being a cop-out, it's an insult to the lives of the ancestors who sacrificed for us to be here today. And listen, before I sign off, let me acknowledge and thank Melanie Campbell and the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and Jackie DuPont Walker of the AME Church Social Action Commission and the Voter Alert Initiative for making sure that these stories come to light and that we help drive people back to the polling places. Peace.